Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from Saba Satellite Channel from Marib. Let's begin with the headlines.
President Al-Alimi meets ambassadors of UAE, France and China on reform and security cooperation.
Prime Minister Ben Brake meets UK and German ambassadors on strengthening the bilateral relations.
Death toll in Gaza rises to over 69,000 as Israeli aggression continues.
Welcome once again, and here are the details. Dr. Rashad Mohammed Al-Alimi, President of the Presidential Leadership Council, held separate meetings with the ambassadors of the United Arab Emirates and France and the Chargé d'Affaires of the People's Republic of China to discuss strengthening cooperation and supporting Yemen's comprehensive reform agenda. With the UAE Ambassador Mohammed Hamad Al-Zabi, President Al-Alimi exchanged greetings with the UAE leadership and praised Abu Dhabi's economic, humanitarian and development contributions, particularly in energy projects, which have improved essential services in liberated areas.
He also lauded the Arab coalition led by Saudi Arabia for its continued support of the government's economic reforms and salary disbursement, and the salary disbursement efforts held in to ease the humanitarian crisis caused by the Iran-backed Houthi militia. In his meeting with French Ambassador Catherine Corm-Camoun, the President expressed appreciation for France's historic support and its active role in maritime security, humanitarian assistance, and UN Security Council diplomacy, reaffirming Yemen's commitment to a comprehensive peace based on UN Resolution 2216.
President Al-Alimi also met with Chinese Chargé d'Affaires Zhao Qing, where both sides reviewed bilateral relations and economic cooperation and discussed joint efforts to counter arms smuggling networks in the Red Sea and Horn of Africa. The President highlighted the importance of coordination with Beijing to safeguard maritime routes and expand cooperation in energy, ports, and infrastructure, while all three diplomats reaffirmed their countries' continued support for Yemen's stability, peace, and reform efforts.
President of the Presidential Leadership Council, Dr. Rashad Mohammed Al-Alimi, sent a cable of condolences to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan over the victims of a military cargo plane crash belonging to Turkish Ministry of Defense.
President Al-Alimi, on behalf of the council members and the government, expressed his deepest sympathies to President Erdogan, the Turkish government, and the families of victims, praying to Almighty God to grant the deceased mercy and peace, and to spare Turkey and its people all harm and misfortune.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister continued meetings with international partners to boost Yemen's reform and development agenda. In this context, Dr. Salim Saleh bin Buraik held separate meetings with British Ambassador Abida Sharif and German Ambassador Thomas Schneider to discuss bilateral relations, international cooperation, and ongoing reform and development efforts in Yemen.
During his meeting with British Ambassador, Prime Minister Ben Brake reviewed preparations for the upcoming Health Donors Conference and the International Energy Conference, both to be held in Aden later this month. He highlighted the importance of these events in mobilizing international and regional support for Yemen's health and energy sectors, and in promoting economic recovery and sustainable development with the backing of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and other partners.
The Prime Minister reaffirmed his government's determination to advance comprehensive economic, fiscal, and administrative reforms, emphasizing effective international partnerships, particularly with the United Kingdom, to enhance governance and improve public services. In his talks with German Ambassador Thomas Schneider, Ben Brake praised Germany's consistent humanitarian and development support, as well as its role in assisting Yemen's transition from relief to sustainable recovery.
Ambassador Schneider conveyed greetings from Chancellor Friedrich Merz and reaffirmed Germany's commitment to supporting Yemen's stability, peace, and institutional development in line with the government's priorities. Both ambassadors expressed their government's continued support for Yemen's reform process and their commitment to strengthen cooperation in health, energy, and development.
In the context of expanding foreign relations, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Dr. Shaya Azandani received a copy of the credentials of Javier Carbajosa, the new non-resident ambassador of the Kingdom of Spain to Yemen. Minister Azandani welcomed the ambassador and wished him success in his mission, affirming the ministry's full support to facilitate his duties and strengthen friendship and cooperation between the two countries.
He expressed Yemen's appreciation for Spain's cooperation in recovering stolen Yemeni artifacts and praised Madrid's positive stance in supporting Yemen across various fields. Ambassador Carbajosa conveyed his country's commitment to supporting the Presidential Leadership Council and the Yemeni government and to expand in bilateral cooperation in ways that serve the interests of both nations.
In Djibouti, Yemen's Minister of Planning and International Cooperation and Active Minister of Telecommunications and Information Technology, Dr. Waad Badi, and Djibouti's Minister of Information and Active Minister of Posts and Telecommunications, Ridwan Bahdoun, signed a memorandum of understanding to expand cooperation in telecommunications and digital transformation.
The agreement seeks to build a sustainable technology partnership, promote knowledge exchange, and develop digital infrastructure and innovation across both countries.
Both sides affirmed that the deal marks an important step towards stronger economic and technical relations between Yemen and Djibouti. It also supports Yemen's ongoing efforts to modernize the ICT sector and achieve comprehensive digital transformation. The ceremony was attended by senior officials, including Yemen's ambassador to Djibouti, Abdullah As-Suqatri, and representatives from Adennet and Tel Yemen.
Yemen also took part in high-level regional meetings on combating financial crimes, where Yemen participated in the 41st plenary meeting on the Middle East and North Africa Financial Action Task Force, MENA-FATF, with a delegation led by Deputy Minister of Finance and Chairman of the National Committee for Combating Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing, Hani Wahab.
The meeting, attended by delegation from member states and international organizations, was opened by MENA-FATF President Samia Abu Sharif and Pierre Allegrand, Chair of the Global Network Coordination Group, GNCG. Discussions focused on internal policy issues, international evaluations, and measures to strengthen regional efforts in combating money laundering and terrorism financing.
On the sidelines, Yemen's delegation participated in specialized meetings and workshops, including sessions on risk assessment, financial intelligence, counter-terrorism financing, and technical assistance. Member states and experts also reviewed best practices from the ongoing FATF mutual evaluation round and international assessment mechanisms. The Yemeni delegation actively contributed proposals and recommendations, several of which were adopted in the final plenary session to enhance cooperation and compliance among member states.
In Aden, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Mustafa Nu'man met with the Deputy Head of the UN mission to support the Hodeidah Agreement, UNMHA, Marie Yamashita, to discuss the mission's activities in Hodeidah and ways to improve its performance in line with UN mandate.
The meeting also included an exchange of views on the future of the mission's field presence and the need for stronger coordination with the Yemeni government and ensure effective implementation of its tasks. Deputy Minister Nu'man noted that government's observations regarding the mission's performance in previous phrases, emphasizing the importance of closer cooperation with relevant national authorities.
He reiterated the government's welcome for the relocation of UN missions and agencies to the interim capital Aden to enhance operational efficiency and direct communication. For her part, Ms. Yamashita expressed appreciation for the government's cooperation and understanding, confirming that UNMHA is reviewing its mandate to align with recent regional and international developments.
In another event, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Mustafa Nu'man met with the representatives of international organizations to discuss ways to strengthen coordination and facilitate humanitarian and development efforts across Yemen.
He praised their vital role in alleviating the suffering of Yemenis and reaffirmed the government's commitment to providing a secure environment for their operations. Norman also thanked the organizations that relocated their offices to the interim capital, Aden, calling it a clear show of support for the legitimate government.
Representatives, in turn, expressed appreciation for the government's cooperation and confirmed their commitment to expanding humanitarian programs and deepening partnership with Yemen's institutions.
In our top international stories tonight, the death toll from the ongoing Israeli aggression has risen to 69,185, with 170,698 wounded, most of them children and women, according to the medical sources. Hospitals in the Strip received the bodies of 3 victims recovered from under the rubble in the past 24 hours, while 245 Palestinians have been killed and 627 injured since the October 11 ceasefire. Since the October 11 ceasefire agreement, in addition to 532 bodies recovered.
Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Israeli settlers stormed the courtyards of Al-Aqsa Mosque under heavy police protection, performing provocative Talmudic rituals. Local authorities said 920 settlers entered the compound in groups throughout the day. In the West Bank, Israeli forces arrested 7 Palestinians from the Hebron governorate after raiding and searching their homes.
In Cairo, the 3rd edition of the World Conference on Population Health and Human Development, PHDC 25, kicked off today under the theme Empowering People, Advancing Progress, Expanding Opportunities. Opening the event, Egyptian Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli called for joint investment in research, innovation and healthcare funding for development nations to build a healthy economy that generates sustainable jobs.
Dr. Madbouli expressed hope that conference will produce practical recommendations toward a healthier and fairer world, affirming Egypt's commitment to international cooperation and sustainable human development. The 4-day event brings together global leaders, policymakers, and experts to discuss inclusive health, population dynamics, education, migration, and the role of artificial intelligence in building sustainable, equitable societies.
This has been the news from Saba Satellite Channel from Marib. Thank you for watching and have a good time.